Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Crystal?
Indeed. You guys may have the day off of work, but we're here for you with all the best stuff. So this is exciting. Bernie Sanders has released a big plan to go after unfettered capitalism. We've got his national policy director here to dig into the details. We also have a group put 500 Americans together in a room who have really different political ideologies and actually made them talk to each other. So we're going to talk to them about what happened and also some new benchmark polling. We'll get into all of that and more today on Rising. Saagar, what are you looking at?
Well, the Democratic debate hasn't even started, but I think we can be reasonably certain how it's going to go. How do I come to this certainty? Well, all we need to know, who's asking the questions. The New York Times demonstrated Saturday morning exactly why I'm so certain the debate will be rigged in the favor of Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren, while Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, and Andrew Yang are in for a hell of an evening. Saturday morning was, of course, the time of release for this gem of a story on presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard. Just look at the sub-headline of the story. You really don't even need to read it to know exactly what the premise is. The story is a mainstream media trifecta. Find a candidate you don't agree with, pose a question analysis headline, and then answer your question with the greatest hits of smears. In this particular case against Tulsi, her crime is being famous on the internet for daring to question the bipartisan consensus, occasional praise from racist freaks, and of course, their favorite of all, the friend of Russia argument. I could do an entire monologue dismantling that ridiculous article, but it's emblematic of the pervasive bias that we will witness tomorrow evening. We already know the cushy treatment Elizabeth Warren will receive. How? Well, look no further than my monologue on Friday, in which I highlighted a news analysis by a New York Times reporter who said that any criticism of Elizabeth Warren's past is part of the GOP's sexist playbook against Hillary Clinton. They already told us how they feel about Warren's Native American heritage scandal in the story itself. They buy her version of events, that a DNA test which effectively disproved her entire story is plenty enough for them. Don't expect nary a skeptical question from them to Warren about her past, except as an opportunity to demonize skeptics as sexist pigs. To Joe Biden? Why, you already know the answer. What else did I highlight last week? Of course, the New York Times saying that the claim that Hunter Biden made millions of dollars profiting off of his father's office were unfounded. The best part, of course, is that all you need to disprove this ridiculous claim at the very top of a New York Times story about the subject is the New York Times' own reporting. They'll ask Biden some version of a question about how his son's past has been, quote, weaponized against him by President Trump. Biden will say again that he never once talked about with his son or his family about their profiting from his office. He's then going to pivot to a diatribe about how Trump needs to be impeached, and everybody will clap. A follow-up question is extraordinarily unlikely. The media already played right into Biden's hands on Sunday, after Hunter put out a statement saying that he'd stepped down from the board of the private equity firm funded by the Chinese government, as if that was the only problem. But buried way down in Hunter's statement was, of course, the note that he wasn't even divesting himself from his ownership stake in the fund, which has $2.1 billion in Chinese capital management. Even better, his fund has invested in technology that the Chinese government is using to lock up Uyghur Muslims in the western province of Xinjiang. You see, as long as Biden slightly covers his bases, then the soft and the legal corruption underneath is completely fine. Debates are supposed to be the battle for the ethos of a party. The DNC's concentrated control and partnering with establishment media institutions ensures that the scrutiny Americans so badly need through this process is going to be denied. It's almost like they wanted to prove Tulsi Gabbard's point when she said that she was considering skipping the debate. Despite that, God, I know well, actually we learned this morning she will be up there, so I'm very glad to hear that because we need somebody to check the others on the stage since the moderators won't do it. And I just think, Crystal, what I'm trying to highlight here is like when you do a dual host of CNN and the New York Times, you already know how it's going to go.
You do. You know what they're going to be after. I mean, look, if anyone can flip the script, it's Tulsi Gabbard,
right,
it's
exactly.
Bernie Sanders, it's Andrew Yang, as they have in the other debates. But if we could just talk for a minute about that New York Times article.
Gosh,
it made me so mad. The headline is, what exactly is Tulsi Gabbard up to? Here's an idea. Why don't you freaking ask her? Because we have, and she's made it quite clear what she's up to. She actually has principles, and you may not agree with them, but, you know, she has principles. That's what she's up to.
Yeah, we spent like 40 minutes talking to her about her vision, about foreign policy, on economics, on corruption, And I mean, exactly right. They don't ask her.
She's
they go
perfectly
to some
willing to tell you what she's up to.
weirdos on the internet, and she's like, she's an alt-right star, and the Russians love her because she's promoting. I mean, they use the same thing against everybody, anybody who doesn't agree with them.
Yeah.
That's their
Well,
playbook.
this is what I talked about in my monologue on Friday. If you talk about the problems in America using facts and data, or you go against the establishment direction of the party, then you're a Russian plant. Period. End of story. I mean, the way they have smeared her from the beginning has just outraged me. There was a story, Daily Beast, I think, did a story on how Russians were funding her campaign. She had about 100,000 donors at that point. They found 3 people who had some kind of tangential link to Russia. I mean, it's just absolutely ludicrous, the whole thing. But I have no doubt she will know how to handle herself tomorrow night.
Well, I can't wait to see her up there.
Next on Rising, we cover a variety of 2020 polls, but one organization took a different approach to surveying the public.
What they gathered from interviewing over 500 Americans in a single room. When Rising continues.